this thing going yet? I can't ever tell. Well, howdy boys. You know, some time ago, probably last month, could be longer, Kenny over at Eagle Eye Shooting found this little, where the hell is that camera thing? This little single cavity. You see what that said? Oh, wrong side. Come on, 358 430. I'm reading it backwards for some reason. 358 430. Anyway, it's a little round nose oddball of 200 grains. I'd never seen anything like that before. I thought, hey, that's interesting. So Kenny got it and sent it to me. Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate it, little brother. And it makes some really fine round nose pistol fodder. That focus. Plain base. And they all come out of that single cavity weighing anywhere from 201.4 to 202 grains. So I forget what I cast them out of. I think it was BHN probably 10 or 11. Not real hard lead. So I got to looking online to look up the history of this cartridge, and it turns out it's a pretty famous little cartridge. It's what the police used to use in their .38 revolvers back in the day, probably your daddy or your granddaddy's day. I don't remember my dad carrying this around. And that was back in the day. He may have, I don't know. He carried a .38 airweight snubby all his life. But anyway, it's a long little round, and it does fit into the cartridge checker. It's not too long, and it does fit into the, I've got a little, oh, you didn't see me reaching at that. I've got this little Smith 14.4 target 38. You can see where it comes out, not real close to the end of the chamber, but it's long enough. But anyway, I thought this would make an interesting round to play with. I found out on, I think it was Cast Bullets board where I first started finding some history on it. And it was called the Super Police round. Over on usconcealedcarry.com, a fella named Scott W. Wagner, he's a retired undercover narcotics agent. He wrote an article called The Rebirth of the 200 Grain 38 Special Super Police Cartridge. And he recalls where it wasn't fast. In fact, out of his snubby, it would only clock 572 feet per second. But out of a 4-inch revolver, they were getting 700 feet per second. And that's all it was. Just a little slow freight train. He said, but if you shot a man in the pelvic area, it would bust his pelvic every time, bring him to the ground. One shot's all it took. So they kept saying that over and over in the different articles that I found. This Super Police round is start out a round nose, blunt nose. Now I don't know what they mean by blunt. Mine have only, where is that damn camera? They have a little bit of a flat on them, not much, but that's from my flat cedar pushing them in. So it's pretty much the same round. I'm getting, let me turn this camera a little bit here. There, I think that's where I want to go. What the hell are we looking at here? There we go. I'm using tight group, and I had a 5,000 primer buy once from Extreme Bullets over in Nevada, and these are their primers. Some I was using up in the small pistol. I have an idea they're made by CCI. I mean, the packaging and everything's the same. I can't see on here where they actually come from CCI, but I just suspect that's where they're from. These are really good primers. I started out, I found some load tables at one website. I forget where that was now. But they had several powders they tested. One of them was tight group, and so I thought I'd use it. But then it was such a low amount that I ended up using Unique. I wanted to have a little bit of case fill. I didn't want just a small splash of powder in there behind it. So tight group, that was out of the picture. I started with 3.1 grains of Unique. Now here's a, what is it? This down here just shows what my sights look like, and I put them underneath this 3-inch or whatever size that is bull, and that's where they were hitting at 10 yards freehand. I was getting an average of 623 feet per second, extreme spread of 45, and standard deviation of 17. Not the best numbers, but that's where we started on our workup. 3.1 grains of Unique. Then I moved up to 3.5. Speed came up to 679 feet per second average. Extreme spread was 31, so that come down. Standard deviation was 12, so that came down. Same sight picture, but they're hitting maybe just a tad bit lower. It's hard to tell because my free-handed shooting leaves a little to be desired, if you know what I mean. So from there, moved up to 3.9 grains. And all this time I'm watching primers. That's the only indication I have of pressure in these pistols. So even this one come out with real rounded, like low velocity looking primers that you find, real rounded edges. So I'm not worried about pressure here yet. Here I got it up with 3.9 of Unique, 772 feet per second on the average. Extreme spread 28 and standard deviation 11. So what it looks like to me is that the more power you put behind them, the better the burn that they're going to get, and less spread and deviation you're going to have. Now, that little Smith Model 14.4 is just a 38 target pistol. I call it my Wimpy Smith because I can't be running plus P rounds in it, so I got to be careful working up loads like this. Now, since then, Kenny has run numbers in his what do they call that computer program? I don't know. You guys probably know what it is. Anyway, it said that I can get up to 4.1 to 4.2 grains of Unique before I hit into the plus P. It's kind of a red zone of pressure as it climbs. So I might do a load of 4 grains, but as you know, I like to do loads so that I can throw them on a powder throw. And you know, with Unique, you're going to get +1 or +2 variation in those throws. So I'd rather hold back with a 3.9 grain load, even though I can get better out of it, you know, by hand charging each one. But I'd rather like build them on my turret press where I can let that powder measure ride on the turret. So that's the only reason I don't push things up too hard. That and my wimpy Smithy. So today we're going to put these things through the test. I'm going to see if they'll shoot through 5 water jugs. So kind of make a guess at where you think they're going to go. I lined up 5 water jugs and in front of my lead catcher out there, And then I got a piece of corrugated board behind that so we can see if they do make it through 5, do they actually yaw. That's the other thing I forgot to tell you. This police narcotics detective, he checked his in a 25-pound block of clay. He didn't have ballistics gel. It was 9.5 inches long and 6.5 inches square, and he shot through the long ways. And he said he'd get a nice little 1/2-inch entrance hole in the front, but on the back, because the bullet would yaw, it would actually start yawing in that 9.5 inches, and he'd get anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inch hole exiting the back of that clay block. So doesn't give us much of an idea of how far it would penetrate into like a gel block, but it sure murdered that block of clay. We're going to see how deep they'll go into water today, and that's what we'll do when I get the camera set up over there. All right, hope I got this in one damn take. Turn off you. Only got one shot at this. Here goes, boys. I'll be damned. How many jugs did you guess? Me, 3. It actually hit the corrugated board sideways. I'll look at these jugs in a few minutes and see where it started yawing. That's kind of amazing. I had this cross here. Going to try and hit that, give it a good even chance to go through about the center of all these jugs, but I actually hit it right there. Came out of the first jug. There it is, going straight. Went into the second jug straight. Nah, it come out of that one, looked like it was maybe starting to go sideways. Same thing here, into the third jug, little bit on the sideways look, but coming out of that one definitely sideways. You can see that, can't you? Can you? I didn't get this too close or something. Then she's fourth jug definitely went in sideways. You can see that. There to there. Came out no telling which way. Just caught the side of this last jug sideways. Went through it and out. Looked like it was almost trying to straighten back up. And then you can see where it hit the piece of corrugated board there. Hit it sideways and it busted through. And it went on into the back side here, where the bullets go over to the bucket in the rear, and I didn't find it in there. There's some large chunks that are tore up, but I can't tell you whether that was it or not. So, lucky me, I got this puppy done in one shot, because 5 gallons of milk is a lot to drink, boys, just for a one-shot test. So, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. It sure surprised me. Later, boys. Be careful out there. Watch that 6 today and every day. Later, boys.